I knew it. 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 I was right the whole time. The Xbox Scorpio specs are not that great. Jaguar CPU is only clocked at 2.3 gigahertz. My budget FX 6300 CPU, which cost like around $70 now, has 3.5 gigahertz and can be turbo clocked to around 3.7. That's saying something. And to think now, we also have processors that are clocked at 5 gigahertz. That's the high-end processors. That's the FX 9590s. And that's 5-year-old technology. My GTX 950 is almost clocked at the same speed as the Xbox Scorpio's official specs. Mine is 1024 megahertz. The Xbox One's is, I believe, 10,065. I'm going to flash that image right above on the screen, see if I'm right or wrong about it. But either way, now is the time to build a budget PC. Before you say it, no, I do not hate people solely based off their game platforms. I hate the type of people that just spread misinformation. In fact, I had a much more aggressive take on this video that I planned on doing, but I got rid of it. I thought, no, this is way too aggressive. This is just bad. I can't do that. So I collected myself, thought what would be the friendliest and yet still biggest asshole way to portray this. And I thought of it like this. The Xbox One Scorpio will struggle to do 4K, and Microsoft and Sony are following the footsteps of Sega. And if these half-gen consoles are really successful, as in they fly off the shelves and stuff, and they do not have sales similar to the Ouya, this could be hard for the console industry. But let's get into that later. Let's discuss the specs. Why specs matter at this point is because, yes, it might be better than the Xbox One and Xbox One S, but here's the problem. They're flaunting it around as if it can do 4K 60 FPS, ultra settings, no compromise. It's the high-end, top-end product made for the true enthusiast of gaming. And in fact, that's what a lot of people are saying. Not sarcastically or ironically, they are legitimately thinking that this will be that way.
Xbox Scorpio versions of the games are going to be better than the majority of the PC rigs running these games. Better than the majority of the PC rigs running these games. Better than the majority of the PC rigs running these games.
Before you say, well, you can't predict specs based off consoles because consoles are more custom. Yes, but the thing is, these consoles are more PC-like than ever before. In fact, many people were able to predict the Nintendo Switch's specs recently based off of what they were, and it was pretty accurate. It was a Tegra X chip, and they were basically able to find out what the benchmarks kind of were before the games even launched. Isn't that weird? They compared specs most likely to things NVIDIA made. It's almost as if this thing works. And to all that don't know, 2.3 gigahertz is an insanely slow speed. This thing is really slow. In fact, it's to the point to where the CPU is worse than the one I have in my build, as if I mentioned earlier. And my GTX 950 is a little under it. Just like the speed comparison I made earlier, 1024 megahertz to 1065 megahertz, mine being the 1024. And I will tell you this, my GTX 950 cannot do 1080p ultra settings, no compromises, 60 FPS. It cannot. It doesn't do it. I try running games like Dead Island Riptide Remastered at 1080p ultra settings, and I get an average of about 45 to 54 FPS maxed out. In games like Just Cause 3, I have to play at low settings because that game is just too demanding. How will the Xbox Scorpio be able to keep up and play 4K? It will likely be just like the PS4 Pro, to where it will not be true 4K. It will be like checkerboarded effects and effects to go around it and not be real 4K because it just can't handle it. It would be all smoke and mirrors. Yeah, but unlike smoke and mirrors, that's the perfect time to take someone's wallet. That way I can actually buy games on the upcoming spring Steam sale. I've been really wanting to snatch myself a copy of State of Decay on PC. Not get a Steam key because I really want to support these devs because they're great. State of Decay was a great indie game, and that's an indie game. It's weird, gray area when you get Steam keys for indie games. But, you know, whatever. I really want to grab myself a copy, and I hope that's on sale. By the way, I'm off topic again. You can tell I'm just using bullet points this time. Now to the point to where these consoles are just like what Sega tried to do and failed miserably. Sega in the past, back in the good old 90s, tried to have console expansions. You know, they were in the same family, the same lineup, but they boosted the graphics of the machine. 2 expansions for the Sega CD and the Sega 32X. The Sega CD was revolutionary because without it we would probably just have digital games or still do cartridges. You know, the Nintendo Switch is actually using cartridges, by the way, so Nintendo, you never learn, do you? Just joking, that's the only way the Switch would be able to sustain itself. If there was a CD there and someone dropped a Nintendo Switch on the go, it would be disastrous. But here's what I want to talk about the most. The Sega 32X was a part of the Sega Genesis family. We would plop it on top of the Sega Genesis console in the 90s, a 16-bit console. But the thing about the 32X is that it was 32-bit. You would be able to put some games would take advantage of the 32-bit capabilities. Keep in mind, this was during the 16-bit era, so Sega had the best graphics of them all. Notice how I said some. There were only a few games that took advantage of the graphical capabilities that the Sega 32X could offer. And since it wasn't a new console, a new architecture, and something new revolutionary or a new lineup, it was just an attachment to the Sega Genesis, similar to the Xbox Scorpio and PS4. There were no games tailored for it. Games were still able to be at 16-bit. Developers were not enthused to make 32-bit games when, hey, it would just be easier just to make 16-bit games and we can make more money from that and just put in less work. Right after that, Sega was put in trouble because the Sega Saturn failed, and that's what really set them going down, because 2 failures in a row, actually 3 if you conclude the Sega CD, and then the failure of the Sega Dreamcast, and goodbye. We only had 2 game parties at that point, Sony and Nintendo, until Microsoft would roll around. Going full circle here, people. But basically, to roll up what I'm saying here, like a fruit, what up? That these half-gen console concepts have happened before, and they did not end well. But here's what I'm going to. What if these are an actual success? It's likely that they are, and they might be. These are a complete and utter gamble. We haven't really heard about the PlayStation 4 Pro sales that much, except Sony being like, oh, it's fine, it's fine. But the thing is, Nintendo said, oh, everything is fine, it's fine about the Wii U sales. The worst part about it is that if these are successful, these will ruin consoles. Before you laugh at me, I am dead as hell serious about this too. Most people who are just casual or laid back gamers, what they do is you just buy a console, you know, put it down on the coffee table and play games. They just want to come home from work and relax, you know. They don't want to worry about buying a new console for a solid like 5 to 7 years or so. But really now, if these are successful, these will prove to companies like Sony and Microsoft that, oh, we can get away with getting slightly better consoles every 2 years, and they will go for it, because these are corporations. That's what a lot of these fanboys keep forgetting. They don't care about you. They don't care about the consumer. What they care about is making the most money. Why do you think Nintendo and Sony are adding pay it online when that whole time they never needed to, and you know it? They will screw us gamers over. These people don't get it. These fanboys don't get it. They just don't get it. Really, they're only thinking about their platform, and they're not thinking about this in the long run, which really should. Because things like, oh, microtransactions, oh, that's probably going to be like a 1 or 2 time thing. No, it's in everything now. As the saying goes, once you give them a foot, they will take a mile. Remember to leave a like or dislike, and leave a comment in the comment section down below if you agree or disagree. Remember to subscribe and turn on your notifications. This is the 7th time I'm saying this. I'm tired. I just don't want to make any more of this. My schedule is all over the place because I'm going to try to do every other day now. I know this is going up late. Whatever. See you next time.